Hi everyone, my name is Howard. Today the topic I'm going to introduce is abundance and distribution of the white shark in the Mediterranean Sea. And it's published in a journal that called Fish and Fisheries in 2019. Okay, so let's go first with the background story. We all know that the loss of top predators is one of the most challenging forms of global environmental change, but still unrecognized and not well understood ecosystem effects. And among marine animals, sharks are one of the marine taxa with the highest percentage of threatened species. And it is because that they are generally vulnerable animals, which means that they are easy to get hurt. And it has a low biological productivity, and they are strongly afraid to fishing pressure. And why we choose to measure in the Mediterranean Sea? Because among global ocean sectors, the Mediterranean Sea shows the worst population declines and conservation statuses for many animals. And we have two challenges for our study. The first one is that studying white sharks in the Mediterranean Sea is not easy because of the low population density and the absence of conventional aggregation sites. And this sentence means that we don't know where do they used to appear. And the next challenge is that most of our data is opportunistic, and it's because we can only collect it from the fishers' anecdotes or newspaper articles, which means that the second-hand data is more easier to get compared to the first-hand data. And so our solution is by using a method called opportunistic occurrence records. It means that we assemble the whole occurrence database of white sharks and estimate its spatial distribution with the coastal human population. And the benefits of that is that it provides valuable insights on species distribution, habitat requirements, and population trends with lack of systematic surveys. And then the following is my methods. The first step is that shark database construction and exploratory analysis. So we build a database containing all the white shark records. And it also includes the institutional database and the species and the shark that is under protection, which means that they are breeded by human instead of living in ocean in wild. And for each observation, we recorded the shark's length and their weight, their sex, their age, their stomach contents, and their record type. And then we arrange the whole data in order to evaluate the most immediate ecological information. And the next step is collecting observation effort data. So we divide the Mediterranean coastline into 202 coastal regions. And we retrieve the human population in each coastal region from 1860 to 2016. And we choose the data that is after 1860 because the sightings were scarce before 1860, and the previous data is unavailable. And the final step is using models to test for spatial range contraction, using the data we collected from the step 1 and step 2. And then it's my results. The first is exploratory data analysis. There were total 773 white sharks identified between 1453 and 2016. And 93% of these occurred after 1860. So that's the reason why in the last slides I said I will only collect the data after 1860. And then this chart shows the length frequency of our observation data. And we then use this, and most of the white shark are, their length are from 4 meters to 6 meters. And their ages are related to their age. So we use this data to build another table to talk about their ages. So there are 4 ages for the white shark. The first one is young of the year, which means that baby shark, and juvenile, sub-adult, and adult. And most of our data is adult for 148. And there are 30 data that's unknown is because we didn't get their length, so we don't know their age. And then observation type, and for our observation type, fisheries catches is the main record type with 66%. And so we subdivide this record type into different kinds of fishing gear. So this chart shows the number of specimens caught by each fishing gear category per age class. So the x-axis of this chart is the fishing gear category, while the y-axis means the number of specimens. And for each fishing gear, there are 5 different colors, and each colors represent different age class. So like the light blue is young of the year, and blue is for juvenile, green for sub-adult, red for adult, and gray for unknown. And the next one is the sex ratio. This chart shows the sex distribution among age classes. So the x-axis means the age class, and for each age class there are 2 bars, right? And the red bar means the female, and the blue bar means male. And from this chart, you can see that sex ratio was biased towards women, and 64.1% of the whole records have recorded sex. And then is the stomach contents. This chart shows This chart is about the diet composition of our observation data. So the x-axis means the nutritional content we find in their stomach, and the y-axis is also the relative frequency. And we can see that most teleost, which means the bony fish, is their main prey, and it's followed by odontosis, which means tooth well. And then it's the change of coastal regions human population calculated between 1860 and 2016. So on this map, you can see that there are many, we divide many sectors among the coastal regions, and each region they have different colors. And just remind that the orange means that there is an increase of human population between 1860 and 2016. And the green color means that there is a decrease of human population. And the red dots on the map means that the white shark sighting locations. And then finally is my discussion. Thanks for this research. We're able for the first time to estimate large-scale and long-term trajectories of white shark abundance in dikes across the entire region. And the species went through a complex trajectory of change characterized by an increasing phase followed by a sharp decline since 1980s. And then we also found that most of our observation data are on the western side of the Mediterranean Sea. And this result are similar to the previous evidence of the prevalence of Mediterranean white sharks. And this reason is that the western sectors has a lower temperature and a higher productivity, which means there are more prey for food for the sharks compared to eastern. And it also highlight the importance of the conservation of the white shark in the Mediterranean Sea, which means that we should dedicate more resources to protect them in this region, in the western sectors. And then this map is the change in the number of shark records between 2 time range, which is from 1945 to 1975, and from 1976 to 2016. And on this map, the red sectors correspond to abundance increase, and the blue sectors correspond to the abundance decrease. And we come out 3 potential drivers that may explain this situation. The first one is increasing coastal fishing in the Mediterranean over the past year. And the second is the shark follow the population trajectory of bluefin tuna, one of their most frequent prey in the region. And the third one is human population abundance due to politics and culture. And I will describe it deeply in the following slides. The first one is increasing coastal fishing. We have to know that coastal fishing expanded over the past 200 years in the Mediterranean Sea. And young of the year and juvenile white sharks are vulnerable to inshore gears such as trevally or gill nets. And in our record type data also shows that adult sharks are frequently reported in tuna traps, and it represents a source of mortality for white sharks for centuries, which means that it caused their death mostly. And so we know that increasing coastal fishing is harmful to the white shark in the Mediterranean Sea, right? But it also contemporarily increased the number of occurrence records. And the second one is the relationship with the bluefin tuna. In the age class data, it shows that most of the white shark with stomach content, in this stomach content data, it shows that most of the white sharks ate bony fish. And 47% of these fishes were tunas. And bluefin tunas, in the past 50 years, bluefin tunas experienced an overexploitation, and it makes reduce one of the most important prey resources for the white shark. And the third one is a human population balance due to politics and culture. So most of the observation efforts are related to demographical changes of human population. And language barriers and political instability may have limited the number of records, like the two World War in Europe. But on the other hand, the expansion of the use of the internet and social media also can increase the frequent possibility of observing white sharks. And then, so what we got from our research is that we generated new hypotheses on the species, population structure, and predator-prey dynamics in the region. And we identified occurrence hotspots that would represent important sampling locations for collecting high-quality biological data. So this solved the problem I mentioned earlier, that we doesn't know where they used to appear. And for future perspective is that dedicated research will further contribute to reconstruct population baseline of the species and deepen our understanding of its life history, ecology, and biogeography. And that's it. Thanks for listening.
Monica.
You mentioned that there are many species decrease in Mediterranean, but why you choose white shark to do this?
Why do I choose to measure white sharks in my research? Is because the distribution of the white shark in the Earth is usually in subtropical and subwarm. I mean, they used to distribute it in the temperate ocean in the both hemisphere, and they already have research in South Australia and South Africa and North America, but there's no research in the Mediterranean Sea. So that's why we want to measure the white shark.
Jamie.
So we mentioned the white shark, and I want to know how is a white shark a group or is a species?
Oh. Repeat the question.
She wants to know whether the white shark is a group or a species. Is that your question? I'm not sure, but I think it is a kind of species. Yeah, sorry, I didn't do further research about it.
Sophia.
I want to know how to know the shark age.
Oh.
Repeat.
She wants to know how do we get the age of our observation data. You mean this one, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a research in there is a research in 2012 that is about the relationship between their length and their age. So I show the relationship between the length and the ages. So how long, like if the length is low, is around 1.75 to 3 meters, means there are juvenile sharks like that. So we got this data from this paper, so we can know that their age. Yeah.
Jason.
I want to know why shark will eat bird.
Oh, he wanted to know why white sharks eat birds. I'm not sure, but this is the result of the PCR. So we cannot really know do they really eat bird or it is just a solution of the PCR. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, because the paper didn't really talk about this data, they only show the results. Yeah.
Camilla.
What are the new hypotheses you generate?
Oh, what is the new hypothesis I generate? This is the 3 hypotheses we generate. That is the hypothesis is about the change of the observation in the past years in the Mediterranean Sea. The white shark observation changes. Yeah. The variation, not change, sorry.
Ethan.
How do you analyze the stomach content?
Repeat.
How do I
Analyze the stomach
analyze?
content.
How do I get this result?
Because you say PCR, but
I think it's PCR because the paper didn't really talk about that. They didn't talk about. They only said in the methods. They only said they collected data, but it didn't say what kind of data they collected or how did they collect it. Yeah.
Alisha, right?
Do you know why the female number will more than the male number?
Now we only show the result and we didn't really discuss about that because that's not our main point. Yeah.
Denver.
So you independent the stomach contents a single topic, but you didn't really mention what is the main purpose of this.
Main purpose of what?
Of why do you record the stomach contents?
Oh, this why do I mention this stomach contents? This is because that thanks to this data we can know that teleos or bony fish is their main prey. So we can know that maybe the overexploitation of the fish in the Mediterranean Sea. This one. So we can know that maybe it will influence the appearance of the white shark. Yeah, because we know that the fish might be their main prey. Yeah.
So I think it's a very nice. So you see that it's a very nice talk, very fluent. So there are many nice parts of his presentation. So mostly his slides were easy to read. Although I think, for example, like this, the text can be larger. So I would usually try to make the text as large as possible whenever. Yeah. And another part is like this one. So you might consider paste this legend as a separate figure. So it's easier to read. Otherwise, it's a little bit difficult to read. But otherwise, but in general, his slides was nicely made. So you see that he always used this cartoon icon to explain difficult terms. So you see an image worth 1,000 words, right? And I let me check the slides again. So that's your solution, right? Okay, you talk about these challenges. It's all nice, but still, I always prefer to that you can give a clear purpose statement. It can be a single. It's best stated in a separate single slide. Say it clearly. What is the purpose? Yeah, because you said a lot, and many of them are very interesting, but still it's good to have a purpose. What do you want to achieve? Because I think you have discussed a lot, but and many of them are nicely done, but I think a key issue is not well presented, which is this one. So here you just talk briefly. However, in my opinion, this figure is probably one of the most important results of this paper. Why? Because you see, these authors, they can reconstruct the number. So there's a curve over time. starting from 1860s. How did they do that? And how can they say that there's no observer bias? Because in the y-axis, that's what they did, but you did not explain this figure. This is the number of sharks per 5 million people. That's key issue. So they said they normalized the whole records to the population at that time. So I think this figure is important, and I'm not sure if other, I don't know, in marine biology how many people did that kind of work, but I think this one is, at least to me, interesting. So this, they consider population change, and after that they start to see up and down. So I hope that next time you can emphasize these results, because I think based on the abstract, they think this is something new. And overall, the results graphs were very nicely presented, very clear. So you see that he always have this. So like this one, so he explained figure, and then he has these concluding statements. But this is actually resolved. But these figure and these figures, I don't know how important they are. I know this one is important, but this one, these two, a figure like this, we have no idea what these patches was about. Did you explain that?
No.
Yeah. So I actually don't know what they are. So I would suggest that because you have presented a lot and you use the upper limit of the time. But I think what you can do is you might consider reduce the, how many discussion slides do you have? Right. Oh, a lot. You might consider remove some of the slides with minor importance and talk slowly. Because you were, I think you are so familiar with your lines, you were like a blah, 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 blah. And afterwards, I think at the end, I only remember 3 hypotheses. Okay. So therefore, it's easy to get lost what's the key information there, especially you did not give a real conclusion slide. So it would be great to slow down a little bit, highlight the real important message, and then if you say these are hypotheses, then say it now. Otherwise, we are like, where are the 3 hypotheses? Where are the hypotheses there? Where is it in your, I don't know where. Maybe here? Yeah, new hypothesis. That was why. Okay. And I think this would be your, a little bit like conclusion slides. But in general, we would, a good conclusion would be like, you have to state the main finding. So these are data interpretation. You interpret the data already. But before that, it would be good to have a few dots, bullets, summarizing what the data itself tell you. Just tell us the data. And then followed by your interpretation. That would be a real good conclusion. So, and for that, I think this kind of future perspective can be removed because usually that delivers no new message. All right. But overall, it's a very good talk, and furthermore, he talks really loudly. I like that. So, thank you, Howard.